Part 2. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 11. Chapter 11 Skip a level. Pharmacist. This surname seems to be rare. As a dark thread who is also a key figure in the entire main storyline, the N-Face Spy, one of the most outstanding disciples of Orochimaru, Yaeshido, is second only to the keywords in importance. For Satoru, the most important impression of Yakushido was his outstanding performance in the Sunin War before Shippuden. In the later period, during the period of the great chaos of the gods, the role of the bag is only to promote the plot. Although it seems to have been washed clean in the later period, the discussion about him is far inferior to other heavyweights. But even so, Wu still knew that this pharmacist, no Naiu, was the adoptive mother who gave her the surname pharmacist. And their previous tragic story was also one of the countless sins committed by Mr. Guo Wang. A powerful medical ninja with a great maternal and fraternal spirit was actually forced by Mr. Guo Wang to be a spy. Damn it! Wu's complexion changed slightly, but so far, Yanaiu can only be regarded as half of the people he cares about. There is too little information about her. But I don't know, what will the future look like? With a slight smile, Wu dispersed the mage's eyes, opened the book of Medivh that was invisible to others, and devoted himself to the study of spells again. In the new semester, school life is still peaceful and stable. Until half a year later, a transfer student came in the first grade. During the lunch break, Dingzhou and Luju were lying beside Wu, and the three of them were uniformly lying on the window and looking out. The same is true for the other students in the class, but these brats who fear the world will not be chaotic have complex expressions. The boys looked like they had a toothache, the girls were inexplicably excited, and there were even those who shouted to cheer up. On the square outside the window, a little girl with red hair and a round face was chasing and beating several little boys. From the yelling and begging for mercy, it could be seen that they should be in the same class. What batch is this? Dingzhou rubbed his head. The red-haired girl just knocked down a fat boy to the ground, it seems to be his cousin. Does she want to beat all the boys in a class? It seems to be. Luju wiped off his sweat, pouted his mouth. Sure enough, women are so troublesome, I don't want to find this type of girlfriend in the future. Counting this group, she has indeed beaten nearly a class of boys. Hey, I got it. The disappearing Yamanaka Kiki suddenly appeared among the three of them, and he whispered the information he found. Her surname is Uzumaki. The Uzumaki clan from the Uzumaki kingdom. Look at that iconic red hair. Oh. Have you heard about her? Satoru was quite interested. As the wife of the fourth Hokage and the mother of the savior Naruto, he naturally knew the name of Kushina Uzumaki. But he really didn't pay much attention to what happened to Juzune when he was a child. Yes, Uzumaki Kushina, and the wife of the first Hokage, Uzumaki Mito-sama, are from the same country, the country of Uzumaki that has been destroyed. Hai whispered the news he had finally found out with his friends. I heard that Mito-sama likes her very much, so he taught her himself. Then she is. Dingzhou looked at his cousin who was lying on the ground with a toothache, and said doubtfully. Even Master Mito would not allow her to be so unscrupulous. Hai scratched his head in embarrassment. Well, they nicknamed Juzune Tomato. Puff. Dingzhou and Luju covered their mouths and held back their laughter, it's quite vivid. Originally, when Juzune joined the class, there must have been an interactive session for the whole class, where everyone introduced themselves. She said she was going to become a Hokage, and the boys felt that she was too self-reliant, so they teased her and called her nicknames. Hai coughed lightly, and said solemnly. She already recognized her, but the students were a little hostile to her as an outsider and refused to let her go. So she got angry and started to deal with them one by one. No boy can beat her. Hiss. Dingzhou and Luju took a breath. This is what they saw, the truth about Juzina chasing and beating up all the boys in the class. Very scary. So, now her nickname has become Blood Red Pepper. Yi smiled wryly and said, "It is said that this is the last group in the square now. After beating these few, there is only one boy in the whole class who has not been beaten by her." Satoru twitched the corner of his mouth. The only one must be Namikaze Minato. This guy must not be thinking about Kushina at such a young age. What a clever little ghost. Why is there someone she doesn't beat up? Luyu asked. In his opinion, Kushina has Uzumaki Mito, who is even bigger than the third Hokage Hirozuru Sarutobi, in his opinion, let alone the first grade. Even in the 5th and 6th grades, as long as she can beat her well, she can still beat her up, right? Ah, I heard that the junior named Namikaze Minato also dreamed of becoming Hokage, but Kushina thought he was weird and sissy. Although he didn't laugh at her, he just sat by and watched her being bullied and didn't help her, so although he didn't beat him, I hate him too. Sissy. Wu almost laughed out loud. Was the 4th generation so despised by his wife when he was a child? Ah, the boys have been wiped out. Dingzo touched his belly, sighed, thinking about whether to help his cousin home, but after thinking about it for a while, he decided not to. I can't afford to provoke. Jingle bell. The lunch break was over, and some students who were still unsatisfied returned to their seats one after another. The head teacher walked into the teacher soon, but there was a little girl who came in with him. The little girl has long beige hair and wears a pair of black round glasses, looking very cute. Satoru showed a puzzled look. This is. Everyone, let me introduce to you, the new students who will be promoted to our class. Pharmacist Nanoyu. The whole class was in an uproar. Wu pinched his brows. What's going on? He had heard of ninja school graduating early, but is there still talk of skipping a grade? But think about it carefully, it seems that the so-called early graduation does not conflict with skipping a grade. The first 3 years of ninja school are basically teaching basic theoretical knowledge, and the next 3 years will enter the stage of exercises and applications. In other words, if the theoretical knowledge is learned fast enough and well enough, and the foundation is solid, it doesn't matter if you skip a grade in the first 3 years. Although Nanoyu is 2 years younger than you, she has already completed the first year courses in half a year. The homeroom teacher excitedly introduced No Neiyu, who was a bit timid, and the gifted student transferred to his class, and he felt honored to be the homeroom teacher. Next, Nanoyu will study the 2nd grade courses with everyone. The head teacher looked around the classroom, and Wu keenly felt that his eyes were on himself. Oops. Then, for the first half of the 2nd grade, I ask Wu, who has the strongest foundation, to help Nanoyu a lot. The homeroom teacher caught Wu by surprise, and said to No Neiyu. Student Nanayu, sit next to Student Wu. Student Wu is always willing to help others, and he will definitely help you. God is so helpful. Wu complained silently, while Dingzo, Luju, and Yi covered their mouths and snickered, watching the little No Neiyu run to the seat next to him with a small bag in his arms, and bowed to him. Wu, Student Wu, you, hello, I am, Pharmacist No Neiyu. Ah, please sit down, Nanoyu-san. Satoru could only put on a gentle smile. I'm Mitaman Satoru, welcome. Everyone welcome. Welcome Nanoyu-san. Wu Evil stared fiercely at Luju who was booing, and when the latter greeted, the whole class became excited. Enlightenment. You have a great responsibility. Shut up if you don't want to be beaten by me all over again, Hundan. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 12. Chapter 12 Enchanting Body Tempering Technique. Wu had already noticed it. These 7 or 8-year-old kids are quite precocious. But after thinking about it, I was relieved. The kid in the kindergarten in the previous life often claimed that XX was my wife. Did he see less booing? Only. This group of guys, at Nanaiyu's age, it's not too bad to be my daughter, and it's hard to be a younger sister. Wu Ya stared at Lu Ju's back itchingly. This guy, in the future, he must introduce a strict wife. Yanei seemed completely confused about the situation. The little girl was shocked by the situation, but they seemed to be welcoming her. Don't worry, a group of guys who like to mess around. Wu could only comfort Yanei with a wry smile. The teacher would really make trouble for him. He still needs to study magic, so how can he have so much time to give Nanayu extra lessons? Student Wu, from now on, I will trouble you. I remember things very quickly, so it won't take too much of your time. No, Yu's cute eyes are like kittens. No problem, leave it to me. Can anyone resist the little cat's eyes? Anyway, I can't. Wu, who was once a cat slave, closed the book of Medivh weekly, took out his classroom notebook and handed it to Nanayu. This is my note, you can read it first, just ask me if you don't understand. Thank you. Nanayu took Wu-Wu's notebook and couldn't wait to open it. The entry is a line of neat and beautiful text, the knowledge points are organized in an orderly manner, and various annotations of self-enlightenment are marked, and there are even directions for in-depth research. As expected of the student Wu whom the teacher highly praised, I have never seen this kind of knowledge analysis method. Nayu quickly immersed himself in this unprecedented notebook. The many knowledge analysis methods used by enlightenment, some application methods proposed, and the combination with history and legends have opened a new door for Nanayu. Originally, as a mage who is a researcher of knowledge, this is Wu's strength. Coupled with the rigorous and rational thinking of an engineer in his previous life, as well as scientific analysis methods, Wu's notebook is sufficient to be used as an advanced teaching material. It's just that Wu obviously doesn't have the idea of making a fuss. The reason why Dingzhou, Luju, and Haiyi have so much time and energy to practice gymnastics with Wu is also related to the fact that Wu shared the notes with the three of them, which greatly improved their learning speed. With the help of notes, it didn't take much time for Nayu to catch up with the progress of the second grade. Inexplicably, there is an extra classmate who looks like a kitten to take care of, and Satoru still hasn't given up on the practice of magic and physical skills. Unknowingly, the new year has passed, and under Dai's guidance, Wu's physical fitness and physical combat skills have surpassed those of his peers by a lot. But hard work pays off, and Wu also successfully developed a method to use the arcane body tempering technique for others to perform with enchantment. Although the effect is much weaker than using it on yourself, but when you become stronger in the future, you can replace the previous one with a more powerful tempering enchantment. This kind of enchanting tempering technique is more about strengthening the inside of the body, making the body stronger, and it does not have any immediate effect on combat effectiveness. At most it strengthens the ability to resist blows. But for Dai who practiced Beiman Dunjia, the meaning is completely different. With this, it doesn't matter whether Dai can survive in the future, but is it possible to wipe out all the 7 ninja swordsmen? Moreover, Dai, whose body is extremely strong, is also an excellent experiment. That subject. Wu found Dai who was training alone, and when he told him the result, Dai couldn't believe it. There is such a secret technique. Dai understood very well what kind of help it would have for him if this enchantment and body tempering technique had the effect of enlightenment. For the sake of secrecy, this technique has not been tested on humans. This is still different from the version I practiced myself. Wu told Dai very bluntly that this kind of thing was his personal secret, but Dai accepted it in a moment of surprise. Youth always has all kinds of little secrets. With golden light shining on Dai teeth, he laughed and gave Wu a thumbs up. Brother Wu, don't worry, there is no secret that can be leaked from my mate Dai mouth. At the risk of exposing the secret, sharing such a secret technique with me, a ninja, I really. On Dai's face, 2 lines of hot tears streamed down. He hugged the grinning Wu, moved and said, "From now on, you are my brother. Danger or something, I have never been afraid." Just experiment. Wu managed to break free from Dai's bear hug, looked at Dai's extremely resolute face, and nodded solemnly. You can rest assured, even if it fails, it will not work at all, and it will not get worse. To carry out a large-scale enchantment on a human scale, and without the blessing of magic materials with abundant magic power in the world of Azeroth, Satoru can only use arcane power to cooperate with the magic circle. From Dai's point of view, the magic circle is a strange ninjutsu style, which looks more magnificent and mysterious than the ninjutsu style. Dai Pan sat on the ground. Wu drew a magic circle around him with special ink that contained abundant arcane power, waved his hand to summon the Book of Medivh, and began to cast spells. Satoru cast out mysterious incantations and complex gestures, and the magnificent purple of arcane power lit up from the magic circle, becoming more and more dazzling. Sitting cross-legged in the center of the magic circle, Daiji felt a strange yet familiar force slowly seeping into his muscles and bones. It seems to be different from chakra, but it seems to be related. Satoru's eyes lit up with bright purple light, and his whole body also glowed with bright purple light. This is a phenomenon caused by the power of arcane magic exerted to the extreme. From Dai's point of view, this seems to be just a special kind of chakra. The last few mysterious syllables were swallowed hastily by Wu, and the magic circle shone brightly, drowning Dai in the center. Enchanting body tempering technique, success. Snapped. The magic circle collapsed into scattered arcane fragments, and slowly disappeared, and Dai in the center slowly opened his eyes. This feeling is beyond imagination. Dai clenched his fists in shock. He closed his eyes just now to sense the changes in his body. As a ninja who specializes in body arts, he has more control over his body than most people. Now, his physical strength is about 10% stronger than before. What is this concept? In just a few minutes, Dai's physical strength increased, which was equivalent to a year of hard training. Moreover, this is all-round strengthening, including bones. Regular exercise builds muscle, but bone strength is hard to come by. I feel, I'm at least 50% stronger than before. Standing up, Dai couldn't help but want to vent his excitement by shouting to the sky, but he held back. It's good if it works. Enlightenment took a deep breath. The enchanting circle just now consumed a lot of his energy. This was the first time he used arcane magic with obvious characteristics in front of outsiders. However, my strength is still far behind, and I can only strengthen it so far. Wu felt a little regretful. Now his interpretation of the Book of Medivh was only a little more than 20%, not only arcane knowledge, but even the power of this powerful magic weapon could only be exerted. It's already very strong. Dai took a few deep breaths, looked serious, and clenched his hands into fists. 8 doors Dungia. First open door open. Second Hue door open. The gate of the third life, open. The fourth injury door, open. Fifth Tumen open. In Dai's shocked expression, his whole body was flushed, the veins on his forehead were bulging, and only the whites of his eyes remained. He's already opened 5 doors. Wu secretly admired. When he showed them 4 demonstrations, Dai really put in a lot of effort. Just as Wu thought of this, Dai immediately shouted. 6th Scenery gate open. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 13. Chapter 13 Dai's Chance. No way. With the blessing of enchanting body tempering technique, Dai Heron opened the 6th door of the 8 armors. Thick green steam lingered around Dai's body, and the berserk momentum was like a bomb exploding. Amazing chakra erupted, repelling everything around him. Well. Dai was obviously trying his best to control this state. After a series of low growls, Dai panted heavily, and his eyes returned to normal. This is Huh, huh, Chan, success. Dai was still shrouded in green light, but his skin color and eyes returned to normal. He forced a happy smile to Wu. Obviously it was not easy for him to maintain the current state. Brother Wu, this is the sixth door of the 8 Dunjia, the unique state of the Jingmen, buffer. In this state, I can maintain a low consumption of my body, but when I need it, I can instantly activate my combat power, instead of opening each door one by one. Dai couldn't hold on any longer, the green light disappeared, he returned to normal, and collapsed to the ground, but with tears streaming down his face, he let out a happy low laugh. Ha ha ha, Brother Wu, this 10% increase in all-round physical strength has enabled me to not only open the 6th scene door ahead of time, but also control the buffer state. In my vision, it will take me at least a year of hard training to do it. For a pure body jutsu ninja like Dai, he couldn't understand the difficulty of improving his physical strength. Brother Wu, you are a kindness to me for reinvention. No, Brother Dai, even without my help, you will be able to open the 6th door sooner or later. Wu waved his hand. The grace of reinvention is indeed an exaggeration, but with such an excitable temperament. It's just that, Big Brother Dai, with your current strength, you can beat a general high-ranking ninja, but you are still a low-level ninja. It's really. Wu sighed, the rules of the village are too rigid. For a strong man like you, it's a waste of money to only do some boring tasks for ninja. Well. Dai was silent, and then had to smile wryly. Well, I'm used to it, rules are rules, at least I'm still a ninja, a real ninja. Sitting up, Dai took the soda water handed over by Wu Wu, and quickly poured it down. Even if I'm just a ninja, it won't affect my youth. Youth is always advancing through all kinds of thorns and ups and downs, so it is so precious, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Brother Dai, your youth should burn on a wider stage. Wu patted Dai's arm and gave him a thumbs up. I'll go home and tell my dad, wait for my good news, even if you can't raise your ninja level, in terms of your strength alone, you shouldn't waste your life by continuing to accept D-level tasks. This. Dai held the cup and stared blankly at Wu's leaving figure, tears welling up in his eyes again. Even if you're the son of a consultant, this is challenging the rules. Although Dai did not hold out hope, but inexplicably had a glimmer of expectation. Even this incredible thing can be done, maybe he can really break the rules. His face became resolute, and Dai secretly made up his mind. Brother Wu, it doesn't matter if you don't succeed, Matt Day, recognize you as a brother. Opposite Wu, sat his father, Mito Minion. I didn't expect, as a mage, I would have a day to ask for my life for physical arts. Secretly sighing, Wu looked at his father's way of thinking, and felt that there should be a way to do this matter. Otherwise, Dad should directly veto it. Konoha's rules are not inflexible, but in the original timeline, this flexibility was obtained through Dai's life. The thing you said. After a long time, Mitomonian adjusted his glasses, and finally spoke. There is actually a ninja in the village who can cultivate the 8-door Dunjia to open the 6th door. This is not something that can be achieved by pure hard work. In a sense, this is also a genius of physical skills. As a high-level consultant, Mito Minion is somewhat cautious in the development strategy of the village. But now, in his prime, he is obviously not as stubborn and conservative as he was when he was older. He knew very well what kind of forbidden technique Beiman Dunjia was. What a helpless choice to cultivate it. Opening up to 6 doors is unique in Konoha's history, and it is not an exaggeration for Wu to say that the hanging and beating are generally Shangren. Such a person really shouldn't be wasted on C-level and D-level tasks. I will discuss this matter with the 3 generations of Hokage-sama. Even if it is a franchise promotion, you need to sign the order from Hokage-sama. Ha! Old man, you are finally enlightened. Before Satoshi finished speaking, Mitomonian glanced at him, The corners of his eyes twitched twice, obviously dissatisfied with the word finally. Don't get too excited, franchise promotion is generally for ninjas who have made significant contributions to the village, not for combat effectiveness. If he wants to be directly promoted to Chunin, he doesn't have this achievement yet, but we can give him the opportunity to obtain it. Mitomonyan said seriously, a person who doesn't know ninjutsu and genjutsu has never been able to be a Chunin. He has to prove himself. No problem. When he got the news of Wu, Dai was excited, but not too surprised. Chunin exams require a comprehensive assessment, but Dai is a serious partial subject, which has greatly exceeded the standard of force that Chunin should have. If he takes the Chunin exam, he may directly crush the audience, but he may also be directly brought down by an illusion. Therefore, Mitomonyan and Sandai Hokage discussed and proposed a plan. As a ninja, Mat Dai can accept the difficult C-level and B-level tasks that can be accepted by the ninja. As a condition, he must defeat the Umbu elite Chunin appointed by the third Hokage to prove his strength. When Dai has accumulated enough meritorious service, the senior management will discuss his promotion plan again. For Dai, that was enough. A chance to prove yourself is enough. Youth, there really are all kinds of inconceivable things. Dai gave Wu a thumbs up confidently, as if golden starlight shone beside his white big teeth. Brother Wu, I will not let down this opportunity. I have already begun to look forward to it. It is hardy to burn my youth on the battlefield. Then, wish you success. Wu smiled and gave Debbie a thumbs up. Perhaps Dai is the first person to change his destiny because of his own existence. It's too early to draw conclusions. Wu looked at his small body, and silently shook his head. It needs to be faster, the interpretation of Medivh's book, even faster. It is necessary to obtain the capital to survive on the battlefield in the absolutely safe environment of the school. Protection spells, this part of the knowledge is so late, it's really a big head. The book of Medivh, the reading progress is 25%, and the knowledge about protection spells finally appears. 3 kinds of shields, very good. It's still reassuring to rub the flame with the shield on. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 14. Chapter 14 Flame Bodyguard. Magic Shield is one of the most commonly used protective spells by mages. Different from armor spells that enhance one's own status, shield spells usually form a protective area around the mage to resist damage from the outside world. Satoru has never heard of such a thing in the ninja world. The ninjas don't seem to pay much attention to personal protection. Their enchantment ninjutsu is also very powerful, but they pay more attention to collective protection, and they need special personnel to maintain it. In other words, ninjutsu has this problem, and it needs the caster to continuously supply chakra to maintain it, so that it can continue to take effect. This is also a major key to restricting the development of personal protective ninjutsu. But magic is also apparently good at buffs over time. Although the magic shield only lasts for 1 minute, it doesn't need to be maintained. 3 kinds of shields, Arcane Prismatic Shield, Flame Shield, and Frosty Ice Shield. Enlightenment has been studying protection spells for a while. The 3 advanced shield spells have similar principles, but they have different effects depending on the elements that form the shield. Moreover, it is unrealistic to form an eggshell-shaped shield that thing is too blocking the line of sight. The transparent eggshell-shaped protective area, externally manifested as a protective ball, is the true state of the shield. The prismatic body shield is a shield formed by arcane power. It looks like 3 magnificent arcane balls, which are not only beautiful, but also can increase the resistance to various spells. The Flame Bodyguard is a shield formed by gathering fire elements. The appearance is 3 burning fireballs, which are super dazzling and can also burn the enemy in melee. The Ice Shield is a shield formed by gathering frost. It looks like 3 icy ice balls, which are also very beautiful, and can frostbite the enemy in close combat. The three magic balls with three kinds of shields rotating around his body reminded Wu of the Seeking Jade. For the same reason as before, the prismatic body shield and the ice shield had to be temporarily sealed by Wu, so he focused on practicing the flame body first. Moreover, it is a double version of magic and ninjutsu. At the very least, you have to make sure that Dad, the umbrella, can learn it, right? I'm so hard. As a heretic, in order to survive in the troubled ninja world, Wu also used all his brain power and worked hard. Finally, a month later, Matt Day was so excited that he almost killed the Umbu elite Chunin. When he successfully obtained the special mission authorization, Wu's first protective spell was also successfully developed. The magic version and the ninjutsu version of Flame Bodyguard look the same in appearance, but the principle is still different. Using the method of walking on water to continuously output chakra, Satoru successfully integrated the change of nature into it, and developed the ninjutsu version of the flame body. But the difficulty of practicing this thing is somewhat beyond Wu's expectation. Originally, the skill of walking on water is not something that everyone can do, and it must be excellent among genin, and it can only be done after a lot of practice. And now with the addition of the change in the nature of the fire attribute, the difficulty of this thing has directly risen to level C. As for directly using chakra to form a magic ball. It's not that the three balls are hung, it's a shield. The transparent eggshell-shaped protective area is the essence of the protective spell. As usual, you can just push the matter of development technique to the old man. Wu is very fortunate to have the endorsement of his father. With the help of arcane knowledge, the mysterious connection between arcane power and chakra, and the Book of Medivh, Satoru has a natural advantage in the analysis of ninjutsu. But it's not okay to be too conspicuous. It's not unheard of for him to learn C-level skills at his age, but developing C-level skills is too scary. It took Mightyman Yan some time to learn this technique, but for the practicality of this technique. Wu, I also discovered that your chakra volume is much larger than those of your peers. With the fireball spinning all over his body, Yan experienced this technique carefully, and said to Wu seriously. But such an act of continuously outputting chakra is too much of a burden for ordinary ninjas. In order to maintain a certain degree of protection, the amount of chakra output should not be too small, and too much chakra output will waste chakra. Although this flame protection is a C-level ninjutsu, if you want to truly display its value, you must at least have a chakra reserve of the ninja level, but after thinking about it carefully, Yan suggested. The idea of maintenance technique is very good, and some changes can be made. Usually, the technique is activated with a very low chakra. The fireball does not need to be displayed, and Mars can, when needed, instantly increase the output of chakra to form a fireball protection. In this way, the practicality can be raised to a higher level. Chunin and even genin can also rely on this technique to save their lives. Wow! Satoru opened his mouth wide in surprise. Sure enough, the ginger is still old and spicy. The questions raised by Mightyman hit the nail on the head, and they were all problems that Wu never thought of. They would encounter problems in the practice of this technique. Sure enough, what I lack the most is actual combat. The valuable experience in the use of tactics accumulated in actual combat is indispensable for the development of a practical technique. Up to now, he hasn't really been on the battlefield. This is the biggest problem facing Wu. Rich combat experience is the root of whether a ninja can be called an elite, not combat power. This is also the fundamental reason why Mightyman Yan and Sandai Hokage insist on letting Dai, who has a combat power that can beat ordinary ninja, and must accumulate meritorious deeds in actual tasks. What's the use of strong attack power if you are caught by illusion, trap, ninjutsu, and so on as soon as you go out? As expected of an old man, then the signature of this technique is also entrusted to you. I will improve it. Seeing Satoru disappearing immediately, Mightyman pushed his glasses helplessly. This brat, not only has a good brain, but also has a modest heart, but he is still a little tender. Thinking that Wu is only a child less than 8 years old, Yan smiled wryly and shook his head. Really, unknowingly, I always ignore this. Especially in the past few years, I have gradually gotten used to Wu's way of thinking, which is comparable to that of an adult. The ninjutsu version of the flame body was submitted to the old man, and Wu was officially certified to use the magic version of the flame body. Although there are endless kinds of strange techniques in the ninja world, Wu still has to be cautious before his strength reaches a certain level. Satoru, who possessed a protective spell, caused the young Ira Beauty trio to suffer a lot. The dazzling appearance has also become one of Wu's symbols. The side effect is that every time when the flame protection is used, the spinning fireball always makes Wu's thinking go astray. I always feel that there is a groove that I can't complain about. A certain Kai's 3 balls are green. But no matter what, at the beginning of the new school year, Satoru finally understood 30% of the Book of Medivh. Thus, Satoru came into contact with the long-awaited content of the arcane magic transformation system. It involves the principle of space-changing spells. First of all, it is the pride of mages, the most widely used, Flash. Blink can be used to quickly escape from an enemy's pursuit, or to keep an unwary mage from falling off a cliff. Unless absolutely necessary, don't try to use Blink to avoid falling to your death. This little trick, if done wrong, can be enough to get you life. The description on the application of the flash technique in the Book of Medivh is full of ridicule. This is probably why after the sentence, the explanation of the slow falling technique is followed. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 15. Chapter 15 Blink. Enlightenment was no longer in the mood to study why Medivh had to apply slow fall after Blink. Maybe Mr. Guardian fell? All his thoughts were attracted by the explanation of the spellcasting principle of the flash technique. The most amazing time and space ninjutsu created by the second generation of Hokage and carried forward by the fourth generation of Hokage, Flying Raijin Jutsu has been known for a long time. But Flying Thunder God is obviously not a field that Wu can touch now. And the flash technique can be called a simplified version of Flying Thunder God. Compared with the Flying Thunder God, which needs to be inscribed in advance, the teleportation of the flash technique does not require the use of external objects at all, and the distance and direction of the teleportation are entirely up to the user's decision. Of course, as an instant cast spell, the distance of the flash spell is limited, and no matter how long it is, it will be a teleportation spell, and it cannot be done by casting spells out of thin air. But on the other hand, the flash technique does not have the ability to anchor the coordinates like Flying Thunder God. Even if the caster dies, the coordinates will continue to exist. The principle of the flash technique is also the reason why it is listed as a transformation system. The moment the caster flashes, the air and water at the target location will be replaced to the starting location. Therefore, there is also a small spell replacement spell that is matched with the flash spell. After the caster flashes from point A to point B, he can return to point A instantly by using the displacement technique. It is really one of the best assistants for traveling at home and killing people, well, fighting. The simplicity and elegance of this spell allow it to be widely used, and the real magical principle of Blink is to replace the caster's body tissue with matter at the caster's target location. That is, the caster's displacement is only the side effect of the spell. The casting posture of the flash technique is very elegant. The Book of Medivh clearly describes the spell casting principle of the flash spell, but this casting posture. There is also the principle of casting spells. Isn't this the power of the sky? Next, there are all kinds of weird accidents caused by the flash technique. Enlightenment clutched his forehead and looked at the hundreds of accidents caused by improper use of the blink technique listed in the book, and marked that the information came from the Dalaran Kirin Tour. Case No 10012C, the high chair was removed from the buttocks of Squibbly Toothpit by roasting. Incidental burns were kept to a minimum. Case No 19798G, 3 mithril support rods were removed from the head of Janice Killian using corrosive liquid. Thanks to the donation of corrosive liquid from the Royal Society of Alchemists, RAS. Side effects: corroded scalp produced inability to healing the hair loss phenomenon. Case 14761A, Sthea Wall-Irby was separated from a barn with a goblin feller. Unfortunately, the incidental damage was severe. But Mrs. Wall-Irby is still alive, happy life. Case 16616X, Harland Wilson was separated from the statue of General Turaleon using lava from the iron forge furnace. Accident with moderate damage. Mr. Harland was unharmed, but children from a nearby school who witnessed the melting of the general's statue took a toll on their young hearts. Case No 11773C, 6 juicy watermelons were removed from the torso of Sinella Redblade. Incidental damage has been minimized. We have successfully rescued 4 intact watermelons and it was donated to a local orphanage. Puff, cough cough cough. Satoru, who was drinking soda water, spat it out in one gulp. The number of watermelons or something, he. So what, compared to the well-positioned flying thunder god, the heavenly hand force and flashing technique activated by real objects? It is indeed a little bit more dangerous. In fact, the location of the caster's mental anchor is equivalent to the flying thunder god positioning spell, so the most important point for safe and efficient use of the flash technique is actually the accuracy of the mental anchor. If the process of mental anchoring can be done well enough, the practicability of blink is, at least in small-scale battles, enough to surpass flying thunder god. If you just want to use it continuously, you need the caster to have very skilled spellcasting skills. And the flash technique doesn't need to be reported at all. Regardless of the principle, the effect is almost the same as the substitute technique, but it is activated with air, a blindfold. Of course you can't see it, push it to the old man as usual. There was a smug smile on the corner of Wu's mouth. This is also a reasonable application of fighting father, isn't it? If it wasn't for his father's strength, he would be as wild as he is now. I don't know where the nest is, and I won't come out if I don't become an archmage. Networking. If you don't have the strength to build up contacts, but if you don't have the strength, you have a protective umbrella, so it's not a big deal if a consultant who is as powerful as Hokage researches some A-level, S-level ninjutsu or even forbidden techniques. B-level and the like are even more normal. Learning the flashing technique with peace of mind, Wu also learned the slow falling technique as a matter of course. After all, this is also a life-saving spell. The improved version of the slow fall spell recorded in the Book of Medivh no longer required spellcasting materials as it was when it was first developed. With this spell, Wu is no longer afraid of heights. That's right, before Wu was a little afraid of heights, he would get dizzy when standing on the 3rd floor and looking down. With the magical skills of jumping from a building, flashing technique and slow falling technique, this embarrassing problem can be cured without medicine. So, full of confidence, he pulled his friends to practice gymnastics. Since Day is out on a mission, they are now doing the usual practice programs that Day left behind. And today's project was exactly the one that Wu had had the most headaches before. Rock climbing. One-handed rock climbing training is something that many ninjas will do, and it is a very practical gymnastics training program. Wu, who has no fear of heights, is the first time he has actually completed this project today. Everyone, there seems to be someone up there. Dingzo, who has the most outstanding physical skills, was the first to climb the cliff, and Wu Luju and Haiyi basically arrived at the same time. Phew, with the arcane body tempering technique, it's not as good as Dingzo who focuses on physical skills. Wu took a breath, looked up at the position pointed by Dingzo. Someone. Who? Below the cliff is the lawn by the river where they often go, and there is a forest above the cliff. It looks a little older than us, so it should be a student. Satoru took a closer look and recognized the child who was practicing ninja tools in the woods ahead. Isn't this the prince's palace, Senior Nesuke? Senior Rope Tree? Hai was taken aback, and quickly remembered. Oh, the younger brother of Master Ninjutsunade, the grandson of Master Hokage, who is 3 years older than us. Luju grinned. Tisk, Naraki-senpai is also a hot-blooded faction who wants to become Hokage all day long. Shaking his head helplessly, Luju sighed. That's why the blood faction, Senior Naoki should be graduating next year. I heard that the conflicts in various countries are intensifying now. Maybe they will face the real battlefield by then. The intensification of conflicts between countries that Luju mentioned was limited to high-level information in the past few years, but now, it has basically been disclosed internally by the major families of Konoha. Yes, strictly speaking, we are in the 3rd grade this year, and we have almost learned all the theoretical knowledge. If the exercises and applied training start next year, it is not impossible to graduate early and enter the battlefield if the war is urgent. Luju's face twitched at what Enlightenment said. He was as smart as him, and with the Nara family's staff position in Konoha, he naturally understood this. So it's no wonder Naraki-senpai is practicing so hard. Dingzo touched his belly and nodded fiercely. We are also practicing hard, so we are actually blood faction. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 16. Chapter 16 Go All Out. Wu, Luju, and Hai expressed their inability to complain about Dingzo's awareness. Forget about the hot-blooded faction, Wu said that he just wanted to increase his chances of survival. The 4 of them have been chattering here for so long, and Naoki, who was practicing ninjutsu, naturally discovered them. Hey! How are you? Putting away the shuriken that was hit on the tree, the rope tree walked towards the 4 of them. Isn't this the crazy team? This is the first time I've seen it outside the school. Ha! Wu expressed a look of bewilderment. Crazy squad? Name. Luju laughed awkwardly, and stepped forward. Hi Mr. Shenshu, Wu probably doesn't know how many nicknames others have given us. Later, Dingzo and Hai quietly explained to Wu. Because the few of us practiced with Brother Dai, and Brother Dai became famous in the first battle and was called Crazy Ade, so the guys who saw us practice called us Crazy Squad. You usually squat in the house after practicing, and we all know it. It's so ugly. Just as Wu finished complaining, Naoshu had already jumped over and stretched out his hand to Wu with a smile on his face. Haha. I know Mr. Consultant has developed a lot of interesting techniques. How about it? How much has student Wu learned? Well, all of them. Satoru scratched his head, a little uncomfortable with Naoki's enthusiasm, and he regretted it the moment he blurted out. Actually not. Wow. It's amazing. Naoki's eyes widened excitedly. Those new techniques he learned even reached sea-level difficulty, and those were techniques that only a Chunin would learn. The boy in front of him who is 2 years younger than him is indeed a genius. I see. Shengshu gave Wu a thumbs up, solemnly said. You must be my biggest opponent to become Hokage. The atmosphere was so awkward. The 4 of Wu looked at Naoki's thumb delicately. Do passionate people like this action? No no no. Hokage or something. Just as Satoru opened his mouth in embarrassment, Nakoki became excited again. Haha. Then student Wu, let's have a friendship competition. Although you are 3 years younger than me, but a genius like you must have a powerful strength beyond this age. No, actually. I can't make a mistake. Student Wu, you who work so hard on the rest day, and you, must have gained the same strength. Shengshu's gaze turned to Dingzo, Luju, and Hai, and the 3 swallowed in unison. But today I want to see the new technique developed by Mitamon's consultants, so I'm sorry, the challenge to you three may have to be postponed. No, no, no. Senpai, you can challenge Wu, it's fine with us. The three said in unison, and quickly moved away from Wu and Naoki at the same time. Enlightenment. It's up to you, we will cheer for you. I'll Enlightenment watched with black lines all over his head as these scumbags left him and ran away, still trying to get rid of the entanglement of the rope tree. Well, how about fighting or something? How about a glass of soda? Naoki blankly took the cup that Satoru handed over, watched it fill up automatically, and couldn't help but take a sip. Wow! It's so delicious. It's amazing. Is this one of those techniques too? That's right, the water-making technique. This is considered a new technique, right? So the battle is just. I look forward to fighting with you even more. Nakoki became even more excited. This was the first time he had seen a new ninjutsu that was said to be developed by a senior consultant, Mr. Mito Minion. According to Mr. Consultant, these techniques require some special secret skills, and currently only his son, Mito Mongo, has practiced them. Of course, this is also the special status of Zishu, so that he can know these things. Enlightenment, come on. Let me see how far there is between me and a genius. Seeing Naoki, who somehow identified himself as a genius, Satoru shrugged helplessly. Okay then, but Naruki-senpai, once the battle starts, I won't show mercy. Enlightenment also figured it out. It seems that Shenshu will not let it go without a fight. In that case, in his capacity, there will only be more troubles. It's better to crush him directly, so that he might not be entangled later. And by establishing an image of not being merciful, other people who come to make trouble should be much less. Of course. To fight is to go all out. Shenshu nodded solemnly. Although you try your best, my sister Tsunade is the best medical ninja right now. Even if we are seriously injured, she will heal us. It's free. Wu took a deep breath, and the two distanced themselves. Hai-Yi, who had the most keen observation, stepped forward and acted as the referee. After completing the seal of opposites learned at school, Nakoki and Satoru quickly entered a fighting state. Start. Shua. Wu and Naoki disappeared from the spot in an instant, but Wu was obviously faster in the instant body technique. The improved version of blazing speed has greatly improved Satoru's permanent speed and burst speed. Pretty. The two fought hand to hand. Shenshu held Konoha in his hand, but Wu was unarmed. You. Nakoki was startled, but felt a chill coming from below. Whirlwind of leaves. Another enlightenment appeared directly under the rope tree. Dai's pro-handed Gangquan physical kicking technique was used by Wu to lure the enemy with the clone technique. Boom. The rope tree that was hit turned into smoke and shattered. This is also a clone. Careless. Enlightenment was in mid-air, reciting the mantra silently, and 3 red fireballs appeared around him. Flame bodyguard. Wow. It's hot. Shengshu's exclamation came, and a handful of Konoha had already approached Wu, but was forced back by the fiery fireball. Boom. But immediately, Zishu's screaming figure was replaced by a wooden stake, and the wooden stake was burned by the fireball, and a large piece was blackened. It's a substitute technique. Wu raised his eyebrows, excited. Shenshu's basic skills are very solid, and after actual combat exercises, he has more experience, and he is really a better opponent than the 3 of Zuladi. The two sides landed on the ground and started to seal at the same time. Zishu casts a sea-level water escape, but Wu's seal is just a cover, and he is actually reciting the mantra silently. Transfiguration sheep. Water escape, water chaos, met. The scene was once very embarrassing. Dingzo looked at the sheep circling blankly with a cold face, and complained fiercely. Why on earth is this evil technique developed? You won't experience it? Luju keenly noticed Dingzhou's unnaturalness, and as soon as he said the words, he saw Dingzhou's face turn red. I am the first to experience this technique. You seem very honored. Hai Yi, who was the referee, rubbed his eyes. This is the modified version of the transformation technique, the transformation technique. No wonder Wu usually doesn't use it. It's extremely insulting. Satoru ignited flames in his hands, and showed a smile that looked evil to Naoki, because in front of him, a basketball-sized fireball was taking shape and getting bigger. Feel the art. Flame explosion art. Boom. Ah. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 17. Chapter 17 Tsunade. A pyroblast with adjusted power smeared his face, and Naoki was blown into a non-chief by the violent explosion. This is how magic works. The power of spells keeps getting stronger according to the strength of the caster, or the degree of control over arcane power. Just like the legendary Huajun that cannot kill anyone, the stronger the person using it, the stronger the effect. The current pyroblast technique can't kill people in one shot, but as Wu's strength grows, or more fire elements are condensed, that is, the casting time increases, the power will increase accordingly. If it was the current normal power, the flame explosion would blow up the rope tree to peel off its skin. But if it's an added version, Shengshu's age would have to be changed to 11 years old. Oh, I didn't take it, stop it. Satoru ran to Naoki, who shivered. It's not a good feeling to be turned into a sheep and lose control of your body. It hurts, it hurts. A puff of black smoke came out of Shengshu's mouth, and he touched his scorched hair, feeling like crying. Are my eyebrows gone? Senior, is there something wrong with your concern? The three Zuladi who ran over started complaining in unison. Your clothes are torn. Wu called out a ball of clear water, poured a refreshing cooling on the rope tree, and winked at Dingzhou, who had the best physical strength. Hurry up and ask Tsunade-sama to come here, senior. This image, why don't you go back to the village with a lot of fanfare? Haha, I'll go right away. Dingzhou smacked his lips, ran away holding back a smile. Luju spread his hands, and untied a small bag at his waist. Let me deal with it first. Our Nara family is responsible for providing medicinal materials to the village, and we also do research on common medical treatment methods. Hai Yi shrugged, and stepped forward to help Luju lift the non-chief rope tree so that he could tie the bandages, while the wounded man was still discussing the battle with Wu. Student, you are indeed a genius. I didn't see any flaws in that avatar technique. In vain, I thought I was very proficient at mastering the avatar technique. Senior, you are indeed very familiar with basic ninjutsu. Thinking about what I didn't notice, Shengshu's avatar and substitute skills, if it weren't for his peculiar skills, it would take a lot of effort to clean him up. After all, Naoshu is 3 years older than himself, has a prominent background and knows how to work hard. Student, your technique is amazing, it hurts. Thank you. Shengshu became excited, and Luju, who was bandaging him with medicine, helplessly pressed him hard to calm him down. Until Tsunade-sama comes, the senior should not move around. Well, the first time I saw such a gorgeous technique, I was so excited. Naoki said embarrassedly, then looked at Wu, who pouted straight, scratched his head and felt a little frustrated. There is indeed a big gap between me and a genius. I just have better physical strength and a little more chakra, so I can practice basic ninjutsu repeatedly and solidly. Let's not talk about grandpa, even my sister's strength far exceeds mine at the same time. Entering morning mode, Shengshu beeped softly. Let's not talk about Mudunk's Yuji, even if it's super vitality, it doesn't reflect it at all. I'm not a picked child. Wu and the others looked at Shengshu speechlessly. The enthusiasm of the senior just now was completely gone, and he fell into deep self-doubt. Is Mudunkseoji so easy to inherit? Even Tsunade, who will become Hokage in the future, will not be able to see the shadow at all, let alone you, a teenager. Besides, good physical strength and Chakrado, isn't this the embodiment of the blood of the Uzumaki family? As for the blood successor of the Qianshao clan, Konoha has secretly invested so much manpower and material resources in research for so long, but has not produced any decent results. Why are you so anxious? Silently complaining, Wu just wanted to open his mouth to comfort Naoki, when he saw the latter's face suddenly became resolute. It must be because my practice is far from enough. Wood-done must go through extremely arduous practice to be able to activate, I'm still far away. Wu suddenly understood. Naoshu is under a lot of pressure. Sitting on Konoha's top lineage, his grandfather's title of ninja god, and his sister's outstanding achievements, Naoki, who is still young but obviously not worthy of his background, is under great pressure from himself and others. He takes becoming Hokage as his goal, and he doesn't hide it, not only because it is really his dream, but also to squeeze himself with this belief. Push yourself, this is a ruthless person. So, under tremendous pressure, go forward on the battlefield so bravely that you ignore the traps and suffer bad luck. Shaking his head silently, Wu couldn't help but get a little complicated when he saw Shenchu's expression. This guy is really miserable. Wu sighed, and didn't think there was anything at first. But now that he has a relationship with Naoki, thinking that this hot-blooded guy will soon turn into a cold corpse, this feeling. Terrible. But now he should not show too much. Senior Nesuke, take it easy, heal your injury before practicing. Wu only said. Although my pyroblast technique is fire escape, it has an explosive effect. What you suffer is not only burns, but it may hurt for several days. Oh. This is the new fire escape technique developed by Mr. Consultant? A young woman's voice sounded, and Satoru was startled he didn't feel anyone coming at all. Luju and Haiyi were also taken aback, looking at the ponytailed female ninja who suddenly appeared in front of everyone. I'm a little dizzy. Wu shook his head, and washed his face with a ball of water, only to see Dingzo, who was out of breath, approaching quickly. Master Tsunade. Wait for me. Tsunade. The three of Satoru understood that this was Nakoki's sister, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, one of the three proud disciples of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and now the most skilled Jounin in Konoha medical ninjutsu. Elder sister. Although Shenchu was very happy to see her sister coming, she was also a little embarrassed. Haha, I took the initiative to challenge Junior Wu, who is so much younger than me, but I still failed. This is a genius, I'm still far behind. I just learned a few novel techniques from the old man. In terms of basic skills, I am far behind Senior Naoshu. Satoru waved his hands humbly. Tsunade is different from Naoki, the little buddy. The pressure she puts on herself is almost catching up with her father. Master Tsunade, I'm really sorry, Senior Naraki is really strong, I can't hold back. Haha. Tsunade laughed heartily, making Gaku sweat a little on his forehead, and quickly turned his gaze to the three of Shikaku, only to find that the three boys were just looking at Tsunade with admiration. For them, it is not often that a powerful Jonin like Tsunade can be seen. Cut, he's a brat after all. With a slight cough, Satoru heard Tsunade laughing. It doesn't matter, I told Naoki about the new technique developed by Mitaman's consultant, and he just wanted to compete with you. Naoshu's talent for ninjutsu is only average, so I let him lay a solid foundation, which also made him too curious about ninjutsu. Take the initiative to challenge, but the skills are not as good as others. It's not bad to become like this student Wu, thank you for your mercy. Tsunade's eyes were sharp, and Nakoki suffered all skin injuries. This kind of injury was much worse than the pyroblast she knew. Looking at Naoki Fiji's distressed appearance, Tsunade doesn't feel sorry for his younger brother, it's a lie. But she, who saw Wu's strength, gave some approval to Wu when she saw Wu for the first time. Don't worry, I will heal these injuries soon. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 18. Chapter 18. Research makes me happy. You are a boy from the Nara family, and your bandaging skills are not bad. Tsunade praised Shikasa, who was full of embarrassment, and thanked Hai and Dingzo, and began to treat Naoki's injuries. With the special chakra light on both hands, Tsunade quickly healed the burns and blast wounds of the rope tree. So amazing! Satoru and the others looked at Tsunade performing the surgery in admiration. Rotoki was obviously used to receiving this kind of healing, and occasionally looked weird, probably because of the itching of the wound healing. Ordinary people probably already made weird noises at this time. This is the Palm Immortal Jutsu in medical ninjutsu. It can activate wound cells, speed up healing, and maintain the skin. Tsunade smiled and looked at the staring eyes of the four little boys. Is Student Wu injured? Do you need some treatment? It seems not, thank you Tsunade-sama. Before Satoshi finished speaking, Tsunade grabbed Nawaka's face that had turned white again, and complained. Not even injured? Naoki, you are too mean. It hurts. Nawaka retreated in front of the huge hand strength. Tsunade thought for a while, then turned to Satoru. Student Wu, it's really eye-opening to be able to learn several new techniques so quickly, especially the technique of creating food and creating water. It can actually change the taste through chakra stimulation. It seems that you are very good at precise chakra control. Are you interested in learning medical ninjutsu? To learn medical ninjutsu, you must have Yang Dun chakra, which can be innate Yang Dun or obtained through later practice. But the precise control of chakra is often a talent. Although it can also be strengthened through practice, the stronger the talent, the higher the achievement will be. This. Satoru blinked, but he didn't expect Tsunade to send him such an invitation. To tell the truth, if you are not interested in medical ninjutsu, that is a lie. Powerful medical ninjutsu will be welcomed by all ninjas, and relatively far away from the battlefield. But at this time, a big war is about to start. If you spend more energy learning medical ninjutsu, I am afraid that the interpretation of the Book of Medivh and the learning of arcane knowledge will be delayed. In the final analysis, the root of enlightenment is arcane power. The stronger the control over arcane power, the stronger enlightenment can become. Staying away from the battlefield is not the solution. What Wu lacks most is actual combat experience. If he doesn't take advantage of his weak strength to accumulate experience, it will be even more difficult in the future. If he is now distracted to learn medical ninjutsu, it will not be worth the loss for him. As for dogs not going to the battlefield at home, Hokage's-san can't even do it. Of course, the most important thing is that if you agree to Tsunade, you will undoubtedly put yourself under Tsunade's gaze. In this way, it is difficult to hide many of my secrets. Actually, I've been afraid of injections since I was a child. Wu blinked and put on a look of lingering fear. It's okay to take the medicine, but the syringe, the bottle, the scalpel, the scissors, the suture, the hemostat, etc., will cause me an inexplicable sense of fear. If I forcefully touch it, I might faint, so although I really want to learn medical ninjutsu, I still don't have the ability. The other 5 people present looked at Wu with speechless eyes. As a ninja, he is afraid of doctors. Are you kidding us? But, cough, enlightenment was still afraid of heights not long ago, and it's only recently. Is there so many strange problems in the dead house? Luju couldn't help complaining fiercely. During this period of time, he had a hard grasp of Wu's house. Wu stared at Luju calmly, and the latter closed his mouth resentfully, but then he became thoughtful. Afraid of doctors. Tsunade covered her forehead dumbfounded, she had never heard of this strange disease. But at most, children are afraid of injections, and this guy in front of him actually. Etc. It's normal for such a young child to know about syringes and bottles. Not only does he know about so many professional surgical instruments behind him, but he's also afraid. Tsunade narrowed his eyes slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. This kid, there is a problem. Seeing his own expression, he was stunned for a moment, then a little embarrassed, and finally put on a tired look of "I'm just like this." Tsunade still couldn't help laughing. "You brat, you look so tired at such a young age, be careful not to find a girlfriend just like Zillet." "Cut, how can the happiness of an otaku be disturbed by a woman?" Wu muttered softly, "Research makes me happy, women will only affect the progress of my research." Tsunade looked at Satoru, who was beeping softly, then turned to look at the other 4 children with cute faces. "I feel that you are not children of the same age." "We think so too." The 4 boys nodded in unison. "Don't you have a good relationship with Nanoyu? Has she affected your research progress?" Dingzo, who doesn't know how to live or die, seems to want to discuss this topic in depth. As a former fat man who has successfully lost weight and become more confident, he really can't understand Wu's point of view. Girls are so cute, how can they be so ruthless? Enlightenment, you can't do this, I've had a hard time trying to be popular. Transfiguration pig. Humph. Shikaiju, hi, and Nakoki covered their mouths with their hands in horror, and backed away again and again. Especially Zishu, who had just experienced the transformation technique, he looked at the pink piggy circling blankly on the ground, and he became a little happy. "Sister, I think the sheep are much better." "This." Tsunade nodded heavily. "Extremely insulting." Yi showed a look of longing. "Damn, I really want to learn." "It's simply torture, no, it's an excellent ninjutsu that can harm the enemy mentally. It's amazing." Tsunade reacted and suddenly thought of someone. "Well, Student Wu, I just met a friend who likes research very much. I'll introduce him to you someday." Tsunade showed a bewildered smile, and Satoru couldn't help shivering. "Friend? Love research? Who? No way." Wu hurriedly wanted to wave his hand to refuse. "That Tsunade-sama, don't bother. No trouble at all." Tsunade put on a meaningful smile on his face, clenched his right hand and waved it in front of Satoru, watching with satisfaction that the latter's little face became whiter. "My friend will be very happy to meet a teenager like you who also likes research." Tsunade emphasized the pronunciation of the words "very happy." "I bet you'll love him." Satoru silently complained about who is the big fat sheep who loses in every bet. While watching Tsunade with a tangled expression, he greeted Nawaka to bid farewell to the 4 of them and leave. "This is troublesome." "Wu, the one Tsunade-sama knows is not." Luju stepped forward thoughtfully, and whispered. "Is that adult troublesome?" "Ah." Wu sighed, and said with a sad face. "Who else could it be? Of course Orochimaru, my lord." Being stared at by him, I am so panicked. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 19. Chapter 19 Enlightenment's Sense of Urgency. In the past few days, Wu was always restless when he was in class. This feeling, can't be wrong, there are always people who want to harm me. Quietly retracting the mage's eyes, Wu felt a headache. The mage's eye used for investigation, Wu has not yet practiced to the extent that he can perceive the surrounding environment. This trip aimed at the investigation and inspection around the classroom, but found nothing. Everyone seemed to be normal, but with Wu's intuition, he always felt that something was secretly staring at him. This feeling appeared shortly after seeing Tsunade last time. Is Tsunade stalking me? Or has she already contacted Orochimaru? Enlightenment is a little uncertain. In terms of personal strength, no matter who is staring at these two people, it is only natural that they cannot be found. But Tsunade probably wouldn't do such a boring thing, and this style is more like what Orochimaru would do. That guy has mastered a lot of strange and weird techniques, and tracking things couldn't be easier. However, at least I haven't felt this feeling in my own home. In other words, this stalking technique has not been hidden from the old man's grasp. It is still necessary to improve the strength as soon as possible. It is better to have a few more whole cards. A sense of urgency rose from Wu's heart. Although Orochimaru is still a good young man who cares about the village and his companions, his strong thirst for knowledge makes Wu dare not hope that the other party can bear it. Curiosity can kill even a cat, let alone a snake. Now, there are still a few spells in my hand that outsiders don't know, which can be used as cards. For example, Flash, Slow Fall, Mage's Eye, and the Flame Impact and Magic Suppression that were successfully cultivated not long ago. But except for the Flash technique that can turn the tables, none of the others can reach the level of the trump card. Nanayu sitting next to him looked curiously at Wu, who sometimes frowned and sometimes thoughtfully. For the classmate next to him who is responsible for tutoring his homework, Nanayu is full of admiration, but also very curious. With such a close distance, she would of course discover some characteristics that distinguish Wu from other children. In her view, Wu is not just as simple as the classmate with the best foundation as the teacher said. The reason why she didn't skip to the 4th grade after skipping a grade was not because she didn't master the knowledge taught in the 3rd grade, but because she didn't master all the knowledge recorded in Wu's notebook. A lot of analysis and application design of the technique opened Nuyu's eyes. To put it simply, Nanoyu, who is more mature than children of the same age, believes that he can learn more things by being with Satoru. Not only knowledge, but also Wu's thinking and calmness far beyond his age. This interesting classmate should be much better than he looks. Nawaka-senpai from the graduating class has been coming to Satoru to discuss matters recently, and Nawaka-senpai's sister is Tsunade-sama, whom I admire. Thinking of this, Nanayu felt that Wu's current appearance was more interesting. Judging from his usually quiet but confident situation, he has never seen such a student Wu. "Hey, student Wu, is there anything bothering you?" Nanayu quietly looked around and asked in a low voice. Wu was taken aback for a moment. His expression was so obvious. Did Nanayu see it? "Nothing, I just feel like something is going to happen recently." It seemed that he was a little bit suffocated, and Wu didn't care about any problems that affected the progress of the research, and lightly complained. "It must have been done by Tsunade. Sure enough, women with big breasts are narrow-minded." A blush crept up on Nanayu's face, and Wu finished complaining expressionlessly, only to remember. Girls seem to mature much earlier in certain things. Secretly adding another sentence of complaints, Wu quietly glanced around, not caring whether this little episode would be seen by Orochimaru, who was secretly watching, and quickly explained to Nanayu in a low voice. I mean, Tsunade-sama is careful, no, it's careful, cautious, yes, don't think too much." Then Wu saw, with a black line on his face, the little girl who was not yet 7 years old carefully looked at her chest, then her face turned even redder. "That, Wu-san, no Tsunade-sama?" "Yeah, I met, the elder sister of Naraki-senpai." Wu quietly wiped his sweat. The teacher was talking on the podium, he didn't seem to notice their whispering. Luju and those guys who like to boo are also listening to the lecture honestly, and the content of today's speech seems to be very attractive to them. "I have seen Tsunade with my own eyes, Your Excellency's medical ninjutsu is indeed amazing." Wu suddenly thought that Nanoyu would be a very good medical ninja in the future, so he asked. "Does Nanoyu-san want to learn medical ninjutsu? Maybe I can introduce you to Tsunade-sama." Nanoyu's surname is pharmacist. Wu has never heard of any big family behind it. It feels the same as his Mitaman family, although his father Mitomonyan holds a high position. In fact, they are usually father and son. His mother died in a mission when he was very young, which made his father become more serious and rigid in the outside world, and he only behaved like a normal father when facing him. There is no one left in no Nayu's family, only a surname and an old house, so they will come to school early. Therefore, relying on her own words, it is basically impossible to get in touch with a medical jounin of Tsunade's level in advance. Unless after graduation, the leader of the team discovered her medical talent and sent her to the medical class to study, that's all. But now, knowing her gifted enlightenment, it's different. I really, admire Tsunade-sama, and I want to help other people too. No Nayu was obviously taken aback, and the little girl was a little tangled in excitement. But I heard that becoming a medical ninja requires a special talent. I don't know if I have this talent. Don't worry, you must be talented. I'll call Nadoki after class, but he doesn't want to call Tsunade. My lord, come here, I'll call until he wants to. Wu laughed softly, and winked at Yaneiyu. Master Tsunade likes to gamble the most, you can learn from her, but don't get this bad habit. It's fine if she's good at gambling. The problem is that she loses every time she gambles, and the more she loses, the more she gambles. She will be called a fat sheep in the future. Hearing Wu's evaluation of his idol, Nanaiyu couldn't help being a little dazed. But such a down-to-earth Tsunade-sama is also great. Then I'll leave it to classmate Wu. While Nanaiyu was happy, he was a little strange. Isn't it a fat sheep now? Snapped. A piece of chalk flew towards him, and Wu instinctively reached out to grab it, but suddenly found that the atmosphere was strangely quiet. Enlightenment. I have endured you for a long time. On the podium, seeing the bewildered Wu lightly catching the chalk stub he threw, the corner of the teacher's eyes twitched. You answer this question. Wu got up with an embarrassed expression, glanced at the blackboard, and quickly gave the answer, but saw Dingzhou, Luju, and Haiyi looking at him with contempt on their faces. Sexy bastard! They murmured in unison, making the corners of Satoru's mouth twitch. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 20. Chapter 20 The Ice Barrier. Call Nakoki over, and ask him to reflect Nanu's medical talent to Tsunade. Wu pondered, sending this narrow-minded big-breasted woman a good apprentice might be able to alleviate his current troubles. Sure enough, after 2 days, the feeling of stalking disappeared. Call. That feeling didn't reappear all day long, and after class, Wu Chang let out a sigh of relief, secretly praising himself for his wit. Without the stalking of the suspected Orochimaru, Wu Cai devoted himself to developing a few whole cards. The 3rd grade is coming to an end, and the 4th grade is the stage of frequent field trips. At that time, research will be affected to a certain extent. Before that, Wu planned to prepare at least 1 new whole card. But this time, Wu took into consideration the ice spells that had been neglected before. Compared with fire and arcane spells, ice spells are undoubtedly more inclined to control and save lives. Although in the ninja world, ice escape ninjutsu is a kind of blood succession limit, and it is not something that a child like Wu who is not even a ninja can have out of thin air, but if his life is in danger, who would care so much? He has successfully developed ice spells, which can be used normally, but if he doesn't know how to use them at critical moments, it will be too bad. So first of all, it is the most brutal and unreasonable spell of the ice system, commonly known as the ice barrier of the refrigerator. There are also many other excellent ice spells, but Wu Wu's top priority must be this invincible life-saving skill that is the most important. However, the ice barrier is a dangerous spell. The Book of Medivh recorded very straightforwardly the principle of casting the ice barrier. Concentrate water elements through special techniques to create an ice barrier close to absolute zero to isolate external attacks. The creator of this spell once used this thing to resist the attacks of more than 24 hell boars, causing them all to break their tusks. There is not even a scratch on the freezer. It is a wonderful protection spell. But unfortunately, he paid the price of being frozen for 3 years and his own life. The ice barrier cannot be melted by fire spells in the conventional sense, so when using it on yourself, you must set the duration of the spell in advance. This time must not exceed 10 seconds, otherwise there will be a risk of hypothermia leading to unconsciousness, and the interval between the use of 2 spells must not be less than half a minute. Wu sighed silently. Mage is really a dangerous profession. For mages who control arcane power, the boundary between water and ice is not as obvious as chakra-driven ninjutsu. Strictly speaking, the elemental escape method performed through the change of chakra's nature only transforms chakra into the corresponding element. In essence, it is the ninja's chakra that is released as an attack. Unless you use your own chakra changes to guide external elements to achieve the effect of strengthening power, but that is not something ordinary ninjas can do. The power of arcane magic is to directly condense the corresponding elements in the natural world to create spells, which completely omits the step of changing properties. There are pros and cons to both approaches. Arcane power is higher than ninjutsu in terms of power and upper limit for single attribute jutsu. However, multi-attribute compound spells, such as blood succession limit, blood succession elimination, blood succession snare, arcane power is not good at it. However, pure arcane spells have more magical effects, but enlightenment is far from reaching that level. As far as ninjutsu is concerned, the feng shui combines Sweji boundary ice escape. The power of arcane art can obtain the corresponding low-temperature freezing effect by condensing and compressing water elements. The ice barrier is undoubtedly an extreme application of this spell-casting principle. Wu found that this spell can not only save his life, but also, well, the refrigerator. Of course it can be used to keep fresh. The ice barrier does not have to be cast on oneself, although it is much more difficult to control when cast on other targets. For example, the duration cannot be precisely controlled. But at least the caster is outside the refrigerator, so he can unfreeze it at any time, right? A month passed quickly, and Satoru was about to enter the 4th grade of the ninja school. The class of students that Chenshu was in had already graduated and officially obtained the Konoha for it. Soon after, they will meet their Jonin teacher and pass the teacher's promotion assessment to become Genin. And the fact that Satoru once defeated Naoki was only circulated in a small area, and it didn't cause much trouble. Nanoyu has been receiving Tsunade's basic knowledge of medical ninjutsu in his spare time for a while, and Dingzo and the others said that their family is also stepping up to teach their family secrets. Wu, who has been keeping a low profile, got the news from his father that local conflicts in various countries are intensifying, and there is a tendency to fight if there is any disagreement. As Konoha's high-level consultant, Mitaman also needs to be extra cautious during this critical period, providing opinions and suggestions for the 3rd Hokage. Finally succeeded. After spending a month, Wu not only successfully completed the ice barrier, but also minored in a fire control spell. Dazzling shockwave. Enemies radiated by the shockwave will be blown away by the strong flame impact, and will also be severely burned. Another life-saving skill. Of course, the ninjutsu version of shockwave is also at the ready. There is no need to prepare a ninjutsu version for ice spells, because Konoha does not have ninjas of ice escape blood successors. Ice magic is destined to only be used as a whole card, unless Wu is strong enough. Wu, whose mood relaxed a lot, was once again immersed in the ocean of arcane knowledge. Before the exercise has started, study it quickly, otherwise it will be difficult to be so leisurely later. Interpretation of Medivh's book became more and more difficult at the end. Although Wu didn't mind spending more time, a message from his father during dinner made Wu feel urgent again. High-level officials have decided to make additional arrangements for ninja school students based on the current regional conflict situation and the possible prelude to war. Mito Minion ordered the table, and said to Satoru, who was eating his meal with a serious expression. This year's graduating class will not have the opportunity to exercise with daily tasks like in the past. They will go directly to the border for actual combat tasks. Oh, so, when I graduate, there is a high probability that we will start fighting? Wu thought about it and came to a not so good conclusion. It's roughly the same, but don't think that you can stay in school for 3 years safely. Mito Manyan snorted, and threw out a message that made Satoru's face change suddenly. Ninja schools 4th to 6th grades, with a total of more than 600 people, will conduct a half-year combat exercise, and then select 200 students with the best overall performance, graduate early, and be promoted to ninja to make up for the lack of basic combat power ahead. And as my son of Mito Minion, Wu, you are duty-bound for this selection. Wu looked helplessly at his father with flaming eyes. Hey, old man, are you eager to let me die? You are my only son.